Hello and welcome to This Week in Bitcoin, brought to you by Relai Private. And it's been an eventful week. The ETFs are back, people are returning, and without wasting any time, let's get stuck in. News number one are out of Asia this time, and there has been some speculation the last couple of weeks that you'll actually also see spot Bitcoin ETFs in Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia. There have been some hotspots. We now see more and more applications being issued by large ETF issuers such as VSFG and Value Partners, both giants in the Asian ETF space. They're now also interested in the spot Bitcoin ETFs. They have filed their applications with the SEC conglomerate in Hong Kong, and they're now ready to basically get also their customers onto Bitcoin. Definitely taking off the American playbook, and it's interesting to see that power grab. Asia has always been a very interesting spot for Bitcoin. During the block size war, we had the events there, we have the miners there. There's a lot of grassroots movement also going on in terms of user adoption. So it's cool to see that we might now have an option for institutional investors as well. And speaking of institutional investors, we're also looking over the pond to America, and that's where we see Larry Fink in interviews praising Bitcoin, especially the IBIT ETF BlackRock launched. He's been over the moon from what he's been saying in interviews, that it's been the fastest growing ETF in history on their end, and this data is also backed up if you add the ETF by Fidelity, which has been the second largest or second fastest ETF in accumulating funds. Over the last 50 trading days, those two were number one and number two in inflows, and definitely also in new users acquired or new shareholders acquired in this case. And this proves a point that Wall Street is more than interested in Bitcoin. Yes, it's paper Bitcoin, and we all know that there are different versions to this. There has been a significant outflow last week. These people have now come back with the inflow. I guess this has something to do with the price, because at the end of the day, this still drives this kind of behavior. Knock on wood, I said last week that we've crossed 70K, or 2 weeks before. Now I'm saying it again, at least at the time of recording. ETFs have been trading at around 62 to 61.5 at one point. So if people see this opportunity, the price is back now, they can actually reallocate. You do see these inflows again, and with the inflows, you obviously also see some version of stable price increase, because at the end of the day, these vast sums of Bitcoin that are being purchased there obviously drive a big factor in this. But nevertheless, we can say Wall Street is interested, and it's great to see that these institutions got on board. And who knows, maybe one of them will actually also do the playbook that Michael Saylor demonstrated with MicroStrategy, where they used Bitcoin as the perfect hedge to protect their stock. And then we also have some news out of El Salvador, where Nayib Bukele again put out the famous tweet. He's been putting out a lot of them recently in the last 2 years. In the middle of the bear market, he put out the tweet that they're going to buy 1 Bitcoin a day. Now he's announced that they have an address where you can check how many Bitcoins they have. That was last week, and this week we'll hear that they hold over $400 million in Bitcoin, and that they've been very successful at actually accumulating. There's still some unknown. I think we'll see from time to time what they'll do with these Bitcoin and how the adoption is and stuff, but it's definitely a step in the right direction and proving that Bitcoin as a legal tender works perfectly. And last but definitely not least, we also have some news internally, and we're happy to announce that our German podcast has been featured as the 3rd best Bitcoin podcast in the German area, German speaking area especially. And this is where our CEO Julian is interviewing very interesting people and hearing their Bitcoin stories, what they're doing and where they're going next. We also have an English podcast, so if you want to listen and you want to see what we spoke about, check the notes below. I will link both shows there. And if you want to help us out in the future, there's still some, top spots to go for, because we're not satisfied with number 3. We'll take it, but we're definitely not satisfied. And with that, we're at the end of This Week in Bitcoin. If you've got any questions, feedback, comments, just want to say hi, let us know below, and I look forward to seeing you next week again.